Welcome to your September 2021 horoscope. My name is Cailin, and today I'm going to be covering all of the major transits using tropical astrology and the whole sign system. I strongly recommend that you watch your horoscope for your ascendant sign first and foremost, because it will be the most overall accurate for you. The sun sign horoscope will pertain more to your career and your life goals, whereas your moon sign horoscope will tell you more about your family life and your current living circumstances. If you have time to watch all three horoscopes, I recommend that you do so, because it will give you a very well-rounded and blended picture of what you can expect for the month ahead. And now let's dive into the horoscopes. Hi Scorpio, Sun, Moon and Risings. Welcome to your September 2021 horoscope. On the 3rd of September, Mars in Virgo in your 11th house will be opposed by Neptune in Pisces in your 5th house. For those of you who are working on a long-term creative project, this can be a very fruitful time for you. Neptune represents unconditional love, and it also represents being in the state of creative flow. Given that it is in the 5th house of creative expression, this can see you tapping into that creative state, which allows you to work for hours and hours and hours without getting tired. On a different level though, Mars is the ruler of your 6th house, which represents work, and it's also your chart ruler, which represents you. So this particular transit can see you putting in very long, laborious hours, which require you to sacrifice time spent with your romantic partner, as represented by the 5th house, or even your children, which is also represented by the 5th house. On another level, this can lead you to discovering that you and your significant other have irreconcilable differences because they are not supportive enough of your long-term goals and dreams. Now, on the 5th of September, Mercury in Libra in your 12th house will trine Saturn in Aquarius in your 4th house. This is a very positive transit for you, Scorpio, and that's because Saturn has the quality of stabilizing things and making them more secure. Mercury rules over your 8th house, which is an extremely psychological house, as is the 12th house. So this transit can see you finally feeling quite grounded in an emotional sense, and this could be thanks to some therapy sessions that you've been attending. Now, on a different level, this can indicate that if you are selling your creative works, whether that's art pieces, filmography, photography, or literally anything of a creative nature, these proceeds can go towards helping your family. Now, on the 6th of September, Venus in Libra in your 12th house will trine Jupiter in Aquarius in your 4th house. This can see you spending a lot more time at home, which can have an improvement on your relationships with your family members, as represented by Jupiter in the 4th house, as well as your relationship with your significant other, which is represented by Venus being the ruler of your 7th house. On a different note, the 12th house represents your sleeping cycles and patterns, so you can see a big improvement in your sleep, and this could be due to your financial stresses lessening, and that is because Jupiter rules your 2nd house of finances. On a different note, perhaps your children are finally starting to sleep through the night or have a more regular sleeping schedule. Now, on the 7th of September, there will be a new moon in Virgo in your 11th house. This new moon will actually be conjunct your chart ruler, which is Mars, and the new moon will also be in opposition with Neptune in Pisces in your 5th house. The 11th house rules over your long-term projects and goals, and it also rules over communities. Now, when we see new moons each month, they indicate the start of a new chapter somewhere in our lives. And this is really about planting the seeds for this new start to take place. You may not see the full effects of this new beginning until 6 months down the track, when there will be a full moon in Virgo, or the full moon in Virgo in 18 months' time. So with this new moon in your 11th house, you may actually be joining a new group. So this could be related to sport, theatre, or even just your hobbies and passions, generally speaking, as represented by Neptune in your 5th house. And on another note, this new moon will trine Uranus in Taurus in your 7th house, which once again rules over your one-on-one relationships and partnerships. So you may form a very important connection with someone via this new group or community that you join. And lastly, the 11th house rules over long-term projects and goals. So you may set your sights pretty high on something that you want to achieve. And because of this trine to your other ruling planet, which is Pluto, you may have a totally transformed mentality when it comes to what these long-term goals and projects actually are. And then on the 15th of September, Mars will enter the sign of Libra, which means it will be transiting your 12th house. Mars doesn't do too poorly in the 12th house when it's your ruling sign, and that's because this can lead to major psychological breakthroughs. Once again, the 12th house rules over our sleeping patterns, but it also indicates studying our deep psychological state, and it can also show that you may decide to go and see a psychologist or a therapist. The 12th house also rules over all kinds of divinatory practices, so you may decide to start investigating your own astrological birth chart, or perhaps you want to start learning tarot. Now, on a different note, the 12th house rules over your addictions. Now, when we have Mars here, you can actually be quite proactive when it comes to understanding the root cause of these addictions. Once again, Mars rules over your 6th house, which is sometimes referred to as the house of conflict. It represents anything which is out of balance. So if you've been experiencing insomnia, disturbed sleep patterns, or any kind of emotional turbulence, when you will see Mars transiting the 12th house, you will be extremely assertive about trying to get to the root cause of these issues. Now, on a different note, the 12th house rules over anything which is hidden and secret. So some of you may be involved in some kind of detective work. You may be a private investigator. You may be involved in espionage. And with Mars ruling your 6th house of work as well as being your chart ruler, if you have been wanting to enter these kinds of industries, or you want to join the workforce in any of those capacities, this is a prime time for you to start initiating those conversations and trying to get a foot in the door into those industries. Now, on the 21st of September, there will be a full moon in Pisces in your 5th house. This is such a beautiful full moon because it will be conjunct Neptune, which provides a very healing energy, and it will be sextiling Pluto in Capricorn in your 3rd house, which once again is your other ruling planet. The 5th house represents our creative genius. It represents our creative self-expression, our hobbies, our passions, and also it rules over our romantic life and our children. So when we see full moons every month, they indicate the end of a chapter or a cycle, or something reaching its peak. So with this full moon in your 5th house of creative expression, you may achieve some kind of creative or artistic milestone. And if you've been working really hard on trying to put together your own business, this could be an amazing time for you to actually launch it. And if you do so on this date or within a week or two either side, you may receive a very positive reception, and that is because Neptune rules the collective. And on another note, this can indicate that your child may achieve some kind of milestone in their life, and it's likely to be connected to some kind of long-term goal that they've had or a long-term project that they've been working on. And if any of you are performers, whether you are in theatre, maybe you're an actor, or you could even be an athlete or a politician, this date in particular could see you achieving amazing results in any of those aforementioned areas. And then on the 23rd of September, Venus in Scorpio in your 1st house will be opposed by Uranus in Taurus in your 7th house. The 7th house represents your one-on-one relationships and partnerships of all kinds, and Uranus indicates some kind of unexpected happening taking place. Uranus is a very volatile and chaotic planet, so your relationships may experience a little bit of turbulence around this time. Now, this can actually lead to you abruptly ending a relationship with your significant other, or on the flip side, if you have been casually dating someone, this could see the two of you taking things to the next level in a very dramatic way, which is likely to shock the pants off of your family members. And that is because Uranus rules your 4th house of family. Now, it could be that the two of you decide to elope, or you could decide that you want to move in together, and maybe you've only been dating for a really short period of time and your family is like, whoa, pump the brakes. And you're like, no, mum and dad, I love this person, we're meant to be together, and you just move in and do whatever the hell you want to do anyway. Now, on a different note though, this can see there being a big change with anyone that you currently live with. Once again, this is indicated by Uranus being the ruler of your 4th house. And the 4th house represents not only your home life, but your current living circumstances. So whether you're living with your significant other, your family, or even with friends or flatmates, around this time there may be some kind of dramatic departure. Now, because Venus rules your 7th house of relationships, I'm inclined to say that this will be a departure by someone that you live with rather than being initiated by you. Now, on a different note, for those of you who are in a long-term relationship, your significant other could have a very abrupt change in career. They could decide to leave the workforce altogether, they could change departments, they could change industries, or perhaps they are achieving some kind of leadership title, or they may even be promoted. Now, lastly for the month, on the 27th of September, Mercury will station retrograde in the sign of Libra in your 12th house. When Mercury is retrograde, things can really get shaken up. Now, because this is occurring in your 12th house, which is very spiritual and psychological in nature, the effects of this retrograde period are likely to impact you on a more intangible and psychological level. With Mercury retrograde in your 12th house, you may be re-evaluating your spiritual beliefs. And if you were previously involved in any kind of yoga practice or meditation, or if you were studying astrology or tarot, or even if you just have your own deck of tarot cards, this is a great time for you to reintroduce these divinatory practices into your life. And you will certainly benefit from meditating a lot during this period. Now, the 12th house also rules over psychology, as I mentioned. So if there was a psychologist or even some kind of hypnotherapist that you were previously seeing, this would be a prime time for you to re-engage their services. When Mercury is retrograde, it's all about doing something again that we used to do. So if you used to practice yoga, if you used to go and see a therapist, or if you used to study astrology, as I've mentioned, this is about revisiting those things, because you're going to be able to have a total breakthrough in these areas. Mercury rules over your 8th house, which is another very psychological house, and it rules over your 11th house, which represents your long-term goals and dreams. So by seeing your psychologist again, or by doing your own deep introspective reflection, you can have a huge breakthrough when it comes to trying to achieve these long-term goals and dreams that you have. Now, the 12th house rules over addictions. So if there is some kind of substance that you have been trying to stop using, this is an amazing time for you to do so, because Mercury being retrograde will allow you to see things from a totally different perspective. And lastly, with this transit, the 12th house rules over creative projects. So if you are a musician, a photographer, a filmographer, or a creative writer, or literally anything that comes under the umbrella of creative type, this is an awesome time for you to pick a project back up. If you had a painting which was half finished, if you started writing a poem, or if you started learning a musical instrument some time ago, it really doesn't matter how long ago it was, you can have a huge breakthrough during this period of time, which will last from the 27th of September through to about the 19th or the 20th of October. And so, Scorpio, that's all I have for you for September 2021. If you enjoyed this horoscope, please give the video a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more content on this channel, please hit the subscribe button. Enjoy your month ahead and take care.